It is interesting that your topic for the plenary session is distance learning, today's tools for tomorrow's leaders. Universities are parts of an education continuum, of course, and do not operate within a vacuum in society. So educating leaders in business, society, government is what a Commonwealth university tries to do. Can distance learning tools and applications enhance the broader societal usefulness of a university education?
I think that's an unequivocal yes, and there's no doubt about it that is something that is going to continue to grow exponentially. In my own country, the United States, we have seen a huge growth in distance learning classes. So approximately 90% of our universities have distance learning opportunities. Some of that is done over purely open distance online learning, but about 45 to 50% of that is done over interactive video as well, which supplements and complements the online components.
Now, Jan, within distance learning, as with all ICT for development, the digital divide is an exhaustively discussed topic. Are resource issues, and by extension access and connectivity, the only barriers to distance learning being used more and more widely?
Actually, I think access and connectivity is almost a non-issue in some countries. For example, we're here in India, and bandwidth is just magnanimous in many places. Yes, there's some villages that have no electricity, but the technology sector and the government has put that bandwidth into some of those remote locations. So the connectivity doesn't seem to be the issue that it was 5 years ago in a lot of situations. I think in education, the primary obstacles that we run across are human factors, things like professors' attitudes and resistance to change. Perhaps that will change then in the next cycle of incoming teachers that are millennials themselves and are not resistant to trying new technology tools. And then I think the vision of the leadership in those Commonwealth universities is a key factor. And they may not even know about some of these wonderful applications, and that's why it's so important to attend these professional organization meetings to learn about what other universities are using with their faculty to reach those students at a distance, whether it's interactive video or open source kinds of software or laptop initiatives. There's just so many ways that we can open up the doors for our students and engage them at the same time if our leaders understand and can see some of these tools in action.
So what are some of the cutting-edge technologies that are being used in schools where in America, Canada?
Yeah. Well, one thing that is very popular in Western countries right now is the ability to stream out any content that you produce in your university. So every lecture can be streamed out over the internet through video technology, and students that may not be in class could actually participate in that lecture over their PC. They can't be quite as interactive, but they can still view it at the same time. And then they can put it in, it'll automatically drop into an archive so that the students can access it anytime thereafter. So that's kind of interesting. If you're a college student and you want to review a lesson, you can go back and look at the professor's lecture as many times as you want to through this kind of technology. So that's very popular. The students are demanding that in some universities. They would prefer to go to a university that uses some kind of technologies like that because frankly, it helps them to get through their lessons. I think that is very important now, is to be able to add that video piece into your online. The ability to take this video piece and put it into something like Blackboard or Moodle I think is something that we can do now that we couldn't do last year. It's very exciting. We are working a partnership with Apple and just had an announcement last week about the ability to take your lecture and go straight from the lecture hall to podcast producer and iTunes University and down onto a kid's iPod without an instructor having to know diddly about how it all works. It just works.
Yeah.
You just got to remember to start your recording when you start teaching.
Yeah.
So that's an exciting thing. You know, little fun gadgets like this field view that you can take out into the field. I was a science teacher, so you know, I used to take the kids out and do water samples, and imagine if you could do that without having to take the kids out of the classroom to do it for security reasons or whatever. You've got this little jewel, so you've got your guy on the Parks Department down at the river, and he's pulling this stuff up, and he's showing the students, and they're seeing it on their big screen TV in their classroom, and you know, he can see them raise their hands to answer questions. So those are just some of the cutting edge things. I think our latest thing though is, I know that you've probably done a web camera phone call with people on your PC.
Yes.
And the quality of that is not the world's greatest right now, but we have something coming out called Movi, M-O-V-I 2, which will make that a thing of the past and make that choppy, murky, crummy audio experience totally a thing of the past. So those are pretty much the cutting edge products that I get to talk about.
Jan Zanetis of Tandberg. Jan Zanetis, thank you very much.
You are so welcome.